The Oregon Territory was a wild and untamed land, filled with vast forests, rugged mountains, and sprawling rivers. Dusty trails crisscrossed the territory, where the law was often a fading whisper amidst the chaos of the frontier. Settlers and outlaws alike roamed freely, chasing dreams of wealth or fleeing from their pasts. It was a place where danger lurked around every bend, and only the strongest survived. Travelers would find themselves navigating through thick woods, where towering pines lined the path like ancient sentinels. The air was filled with the scent of earth and pine resin, mingling with the sounds of distant rustling and the call of wildlife. However, beneath this picturesque surface lay a brutal reality. Bandits were common, and fear ruled the hearts of many. In this lawless environment, a group of young outlaws, brash and ambitious, sought to make their mark. Fueled by tales of glory and riches, they plotted their next move. Little did they know that their next target, an old man named Horace Pike, held secrets that could turn their lives upside down. As they approached his humble cabin, they believed they were destined for easy pickings, but the land was about to teach them a harsh lesson about underestimating those who seem weak. Horace Pike lived a life marked by simplicity and quietude, far away from the chaos that defined the Oregon Territory. His small cabin, nestled among the towering evergreens, seemed to belong to another era. Faded wood and wildflowers surrounded the home, painting a serene picture that belied the man's true nature. With silver hair pulled back and deep-set eyes that sparkled with hidden intelligence, Horace appeared to be just an unassuming old man. Yet, whispers of his past were like a shadow that trailed him. Townsfolk occasionally speculated about the life he once led. Stories of daring escapades and narrow escapes from the law floated through taverns like smoke. Some claimed he was a notorious outlaw who had vanished into obscurity following a series of legendary heists. At times, Horace would sit on his porch, watching the world go by, a hint of nostalgia flitting across his face as memories danced in his mind like old ghosts. Despite his tranquil exterior, there was a sharpness about him that suggested he was not as defenseless as he seemed. As the outlaws drew closer, Horace's dark past loomed like a storm on the horizon, ready to break forth in ways they could never have imagined. As Horace Pike quietly went about his day, a group of young outlaws gathered in the shadows of the nearby woods. They were a wild bunch, brash, loud, and full of reckless bravado. Each member of the gang had their own reasons for turning to a life of crime, but all shared a hunger for adventure and riches. They reveled in daring escapades, always looking for their next big score. The leader of the group, a tall young man named Jake, was particularly enthusiastic about their latest plan to rob Horace. With his tousled hair and confident grin, he believed that no one could stand in their way. "That old man won't know what hit him," Jake boasted to his eager companions. The other outlaws cheered in agreement, their excitement palpable as they discussed their impending heist. They imagined themselves with bags full of gold and silver, living life without fear or consequence. Their dreams fueled their reckless confidence, blinding them to the reality that lay ahead. Little did they realize that this seemingly simple robbery would lead them into a confrontation with an opponent much more dangerous than they anticipated, a legendary outlaw who had once walked the very path they now sought to exploit. With their plans set, the outlaws crept through the thick trees surrounding Horace Pike's cabin, hearts racing with anticipation. Jake led the way, his bravado shining through as he quietly pushed open the door, believing they were about to seize an easy prize. The dimly lit cabin was filled with the scent of aged wood and pine, and they found Horace sitting in a worn chair, seemingly lost in thought. "Look at him, he's nothing but an old man," one of the outlaws whispered, stifling a laugh. They surrounded him, their confidence swelling as they brandished their weapons. "Hand over your valuables, old-timer," Jake demanded, sneering at what he perceived as weakness. Horace looked up slowly, a calm expression on his face, almost amused by their bravado. "You think you can take what's mine?" he replied in a steady voice that surprised them. The youth saw only an easy target, Their laughter masked the growing tension in the room. As they ransacked the cabin, stuffing cash and small trinkets into their bags, they felt invincible. Little did they know that beneath Horace's frail appearance lay a cunning mind that had survived countless encounters, far more dangerous than these reckless youths could imagine. Their mistake would soon become clear. After the robbery, the young outlaws gathered in a nearby clearing, their laughter echoing through the trees as they celebrated their victory. They counted their spoils with glee, delighting in the small fortune they believed they had secured so easily from the old man. Jake swelled with pride, boasting about their daring act and how they had outsmarted Horace, whose frail appearance had led them to think he was nothing but an easy target. "Can you believe it? Just some old relic sitting there," he laughed, tossing a handful of coins into the air. The outlaws reveled in their imagined glory, excitement brightening their faces, unaware of the storm that was brewing beneath Horace's calm surface. Back in his cabin, Horace remained unperturbed by the chaos outside. He methodically examined the remnants of his possessions that had been tossed about, finally finding solace in the hidden trunk where he kept his secrets. A faint smile curled at the edges of his mouth as he contemplated his next move, hinting at a core of resolute strength and wisdom forged through years of experience. The outlaws' celebration would soon turn to dread, as they learned firsthand that appearances could be deceiving, and underestimating an adversary often leads to dire consequences. As the outlaws reveled in their victory, a sudden thought struck Jake, wanted to know more about the old man they had just robbed. Curiosity piqued, he decided to take a look around Horace's cabin, searching for anything that might provide more insight into their target. While rummaging through the scattered belongings, he stumbled upon an old trunk hidden beneath a pile of tattered blankets. With a smirk, Jake pried open the trunk, expecting it to contain nothing of significance. Instead, his eyes widened in shock as he uncovered a weathered wanted poster. The aged parchment depicted a younger Horace Pike, complete with a rough sketch and bold letters announcing a massive bounty on his head. Wanted. Horace Pike, dangerous outlaw responsible for numerous bank robberies and other felonies, it read. Jake's heart raced as he shared the discovery with his gang. Their laughter faded, replaced by disbelief as they realized that their easy target was once a notorious figure in the criminal underworld. Panic began to replace their earlier bravado when they grasped the gravity of what they'd done. This revelation transformed their excitement into fear. The old man they had dismissed was far from defenseless. He was a legend who would soon be after them for revenge. As dread settled over the outlaws like a heavy fog, Horace Pike embarked on a determined path of vengeance. No longer the frail old man they had mocked, he transformed into a relentless hunter. Each memory of their laughter echoed in his mind, fueling his resolve. He would track them down one by one, stripping away their bravado and making them face the consequences of their actions. Horace's first target was the most boisterous of the group, Jake, whose overconfidence had led him to believe he was untouchable. Under the cover of darkness, Horace set out, moving with the stealth of a seasoned predator. The forest felt alive around him, and with every cautious step, he recalled how he had once navigated these same woods in his youth, a time when fear was merely a tool to be wielded rather than an emotion to be felt. Jake and his gang were confident they were safe, still reveling in their spoils. Little did they know that Horace was closer than they imagined, watching from the shadows. Each day that passed brought him nearer to them, igniting the thrill of retribution within him. Horace was not merely seeking revenge, he was reclaiming his legacy that would soon remind these young fools of the might hidden beneath appearances. The night air was thick with tension as Horace finally confronted his first target, Jake, in a secluded clearing where the young outlaw had decided to camp. The flickering light of the campfire cast shadows, making it easy for Horace to blend in with the darkness. He watched closely as Jake laughed with his friends, blissfully unaware that danger lurked just beyond their campfire's glow. As the laughter subsided and Jake settled into a false sense of security, Horace stepped into view, his presence commanding immediate attention. "You think it's wise to laugh at an old man?" he asked, his voice steady and cold. The outlaws froze, disbelief washing over their faces as they recognized Horace from the wanted poster. Jake recovered quickly, sneering at Horace's bravado. "What do you want, old man? You're outnumbered," he taunted. But Horace merely smiled and replied, "Numbers mean nothing against cunning." With that, he executed a well-planned maneuver, using a nearby tree for cover. In a flash, he disarmed Jake with practiced precision before knocking him to the ground. The young outlaw lay there stunned as Horace leaned closer. "Never underestimate your opponent," he whispered. With this first confrontation, Horace had not only showcased his age-old skills, but also sent a clear message. He was far from outmatched. With Jake defeated, Horace set his sights on the remaining outlaws, each one oblivious to the traps he had laid out. Drawing from his rich experience as a former outlaw, Horace's mind was a well of strategies honed over decades. He knew their patterns and weaknesses, having once walked the same paths they now traversed. The next target was a brash young man named Tom, who often bragged about his sharpshooting skills. Horace chose an abandoned mine as the setting for their encounter, knowing it would play to his advantage. As Tom entered the dimly lit tunnels, he felt a false sense of superiority. But as he navigated deeper into the mine, he found his path obstructed by a cleverly concealed pitfall that sent him tumbling to the ground. While Tom lay stunned and trapped, Horace emerged from the shadows, a knowing smile on his face. "Not so quick on your feet now, are you?" he remarked. The realization dawned on Tom too late. He had fallen prey to Horace's cunning strategy. One by one, each outlaw met similar fates, as Horace used psychological tactics and environmental knowledge to outwit them, turning their own confidence against them with ruthless efficiency. For every trap set and every strategy executed, it became clear that age had only sharpened Horace's resolve and skill. As Horace continued his calculated pursuit of the remaining outlaws, the irony of their situation deepened. Each young man had treated him like a frail relic, dismissing him as an easy target solely based on his age. In their arrogance, they failed to see the fire that still burned within him, a fire kindled by years of survival and cunning. The third outlaw, a cocky sharpshooter named Bill, felt invincible after his previous encounters with lesser foes. He set out to find Horace, convinced that age had dulled the old man's senses. With bravado, he swaggered into a nearby town, boasting of how he would capture or kill Horace to prove his superiority. What Bill didn't realize was that Horace had anticipated this move. Hidden in the shadows, the old man observed Bill's every step, knowing how to use the environment to his advantage. As Bill entered a narrow alleyway, Horace sprung into action, using a simple yet effective trap-a-loose stack of barrels positioned above. With a swift movement, he triggered the trap, sending the barrels crashing down and taking Bill by surprise. The young outlaw lay beneath the rubble, stunned and helpless, a victim of his own hubris. Each downfall was a testament to Horace's experience and ruthlessness, proving that underestimating someone based on their age was a grave mistake that would lead to their undoing. The final showdown arrived like a storm brewing over the horizon, as Horace faced the last of the young outlaws, a wild card named Rick. Unlike his companions, Rick was both reckless and desperate, driven by a need to prove himself after witnessing the fates of his comrades. He swaggered forward, armed with bravado and a quick draw, believing he could easily outmaneuver the old man. However, Horace had learned well from years on the run. He stood calmly, the tension in the air thick with unspoken power. As Rick took aim, Horace deftly sidestepped and executed a flawless maneuver that left Rick disoriented. In one swift motion, he not only disarmed Rick, but also used his opponent's own momentum against him, sending him crashing to the ground. As Horace loomed over Rick, the outlaw's earlier arrogance faded into realization. They had underestimated not only an old man but a cunning strategist whose age had sharpened rather than dulled his skills. In that moment, Horace embodied strength and wisdom, challenging perceptions of what power truly looks like. The fallen outlaw lay in defeat, as Horace reminded him that true strength lies not in youth, but in experience lesson that would echo long after their encounter ended. With the last outlaw defeated, Horace Pike stood alone in the quiet of the Oregon Territory, reflecting on the tumultuous events that had unfolded. The young outlaws had believed themselves invincible, driven by their arrogance and blinded by the assumption that age equated to weakness. Yet, through cunning strategy and a deep well of experience, Horace had turned their underestimation into their greatest downfall. This tale of vengeance served as a powerful reminder that appearances can be deceiving. The old man they thought they could easily overpower was instead a formidable opponent, embodying the complexities of human nature that often go unnoticed. Horace's journey illuminated the hidden depths within people's strengths and skills that, when underestimated, can lead to unexpected outcomes. As he looked around at the landscape that had once been his refuge, Horace realized that vengeance had not only reclaimed his legacy, but had also transformed him. Irony lay in the fact that while he sought to teach the outlaws a lesson, he inadvertently reminded himself of his own worth and resilience. In a world quick to judge based on age or appearance, Horace's story stood as a testament to the enduring spirit within us all, challenging perceptions of power and strength across generations.